John 2:13 says, "The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem." The fact that he went up probably means he took the road from Jericho, a 17-mile climb. It entered Jerusalem from the south after passing around the shoulders of the Mount of Olives. Here Jesus and his men might have stopped to purchase their sacrifice. A Passover lamb fed up to 10 men, so Jesus' party would have needed at least 2 if the 12 were with him. Jesus probably entered the city at its lowest point, the Dung Gate. Then he would have walked up the Way of Ascent, shown here, to a plaza known today as the Southern Steps. To understand what happens next, you need to grasp the overall layout of the Temple Mount. Here's a reconstruction viewed from the southeast. Jesus probably entered through the double gate on the south side, following a tunnel which still exists, up onto the huge platform. The temple itself, Herod built it twice as tall as the God-given directions, is shown here, its east face all of gold and white marble. In front of it is the Court of Women, which may not have been completed in Jesus' ministry years. And inside the large doors is the Court of Israelites. The temple courts were surrounded with outbuildings for wood, kindling, oil, lepers, Nazarites, and so forth. The next boundary was the Soreg, a fence about 3 feet high, which marked the closest a Gentile could approach the Hebrew God. Posted at each of the 13 entrances were signs written in Latin and Greek. An actual 2,000-year-old sign is shown here, which read, "No Gentile may enter within the railing around the sanctuary and within the enclosure. Whoever should be caught will render himself liable to the death penalty." Just outside the Soreg is a wall that marks the boundaries of the original 500-cubit square First Temple platform. Here I'm actually walking on part of this original wall, which may date back to the time of Hezekiah or Jehoshaphat. It is exactly 500 royal cubits from the east wall of the Temple Mount. This 500-cubit square represents the sanctified portion of the temple platform. The temple is only what's inside this inner wall, in the 500 cubits. So the Roman guards you see stationed on the roofs of the porticos are not violating the temple because they aren't in it. The space between this inner wall and the Soreg formed the court of the Gentiles, where the cleansing of the temple took place. Since God's house was only the 500-cubit square, Jesus' word about his Father's house becoming a den of thieves only makes sense if the cleansing happened inside this wall. Apparently during this Passover, the money changers and animal vendors weren't content to stay in the public spaces, but took over parts of the court of the Gentiles as well. The large structure on the south end of the Temple Mount was the Royal Stoa, also known as Herod's Basilica. As long as 3 football fields, it was a huge commercial structure. It functioned as a market year-round as well as a center for banking and law courts.